Welcome to the SoCal Real Estate Development and Syndication Podcast. Available on Apple Podcast, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. If you would like to stay in the loop of our next opportunity, please email ppbarakoff@hotmail.com. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Now to welcome your host, Peter Barakoff.
Welcome to the SoCal Real Estate Development and Syndication Podcast from Blueprints to Skylines, where we interview the go-getters in the industry. I'm your host, Peter Barakoff. Today's guest is Hans Ingram and Joe Meringolo. Hans has over a decade of experience in property management, residential, commercial brokerage, general contracting, and plumbing and heating. He has been the driving force behind several successful companies in the property space. Thanks for coming on, Hans and Joe. How are you guys?
Good, good. Thank you very much for having us.
Good.
Great.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Can you tell us about your background, Hans and Joe? How you guys got started? How you got started in the real estate industry?
Sure. My dad's been in the real estate business for his entire career, property management, owning properties himself.
Uh-huh.
Both Joe and I grew up basically hammering nails, and since then we've evolved into multiple different companies that operate out of New York City now.
I don't know. What inspired you to start a firm? You got a firm going. How did that happen?
Yeah, so JSM is an owner rep firm or project management firm. That's where Joe and I kind of combine forces. We both have a lot of experience, like I said, in the real estate industry. And we basically, through our years have learned the ups and downs of construction. And so we at this point in our life, in our careers, we've figured out what works and what doesn't work, and we've put a team together that help other people with that process. It's really process driven.
So you guys are with JSM Management. Are you guys owners or you guys work for them? How does that work?
It's our company, actually. We combine forces, and that's sort of where our both of our competencies really kind of complement themselves and complement each other as we go and try to affect projects way more earlier in the process than just when we get drawings and build something. Hans and I really wanted to get involved more, even when a client is looking at a space, even before purchase. We're getting involved then and really providing a lot of value and a lot of insight to that process as well, all the way through the end of construction.
Can you explain that process? Like, say someone comes to you, or is this from ground up development or a commercial building or residential building? Can you go on, like, can you give an example of the last person that came to you and said, "Hey, I need this"?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty universal, actually. We do work with developers where we're putting together ROI. We're actually crunching the numbers ahead of time. We're helping with location management and sort of finding the right place where the numbers are going to work the most. And again, that's where our experiences are fairly complementary to each other. With residential, and really, I'd say we've been working with one particular client, and that client has actually looked at 3 or 4 different places, but the investment of the purchase of the property is in the 30 to 40 million. The construction budget would be somewhere in that between 20 and 30 million, depending on what they're looking at and what they'd like to do. Our job really is to put all the numbers together so that they can make an informed decision. We're able to say, we understand the jurisdiction here, so you can do these certain things. You have these different kinds of options, not worrying about finishes and things like that, really more worried about level of effort and also just what is code compliant, what's building approved. And then as we kind of get out of New York, we're able to do so in a bit more of a fun way, because there's certainly less restrictions in other places like DC or LA or Miami.
Yeah, what's your guys' biggest challenge in the industry right now?
I think it's continually setting expectations. I think the thing about the project is giving that orientation up front for a client that understands that if a project life cycle is X number of days, only a third of that is construction. Really, there's a lot of time that goes into planning. I think people buy a place and they think they're going to start construction within a week, and if they do, it's often a problem because it hasn't been planned out, properly. The team members haven't been vetted properly, and the process hasn't been set up properly. And I think that's really setting those expectations and educating everybody around us what the process will be, how it will go, and what really, and one of the biggest things is what's the outcome we're looking for. As obvious as it might be, there are still several sort of sub outcomes that we're looking for in the end: budget accuracy, timeline accuracy, and really the finish accuracy as well.
Yeah. What's your latest success, a win? Can you give me a win out there?
Success was that I didn't see that in the pre-requirements actually when you sent the list before. I didn't see success was actually something we were no. It was I actually think that we have a pretty good track record, and I think that we've got a project right now we're in the middle of, and it's what we would call our distressed in our distressed projects portfolio. And the problem is a water infiltration, and we've actually spent several months, solving a problem that has not been able to be solved in about 10 years. They called us in, and we brought our network of people in, and we've solved the water issue. It's fairly complex, and it's a much longer case study to go through. But that kind of thing there, where we were able to bring our network, our experience, our know-how to solve a problem, is precisely what we do, I'd say, the best, because we, again, between the two of us, our network is fairly wide, and our experiences are throughout the country and even in other parts of the world where we're actually helping clients all over the place. But I think the biggest thing for us and the most recent success was when we actually solved a real issue that provided a environmental risk and provided just a comfort risk, and even just a risk to the actual structure of the house. And we were able to come in and solve it. That problem at this point is solved. And we're just kind of right now putting the finishing touches on it to put everything back in place and have, essentially do the thing the client really wants us to do. And that's finish up and get out.
So what's your guys' target market? Manhattan, New York area, and it sounds like you guys are trying to. Yeah, I heard Miami. I read about LA. What's going on with there?
We're primarily New York. We have clients though that have places all over, and so strategically as a company, we're mostly focused in New York. But we do, we've got projects in LA, we've got projects in Miami, a little bit in the Caribbean, London, and they're really more clients that have asked us to do work for them in other places, as opposed to us really sort of intentionally opening up offices and expanding ourselves in a way that we weren't necessarily thinking of doing yet. Obviously, we're going to take over the world in every aspect, of course. That's the goal of every company. But for now, we're pretty comfortable, working well and getting New York correct. And really, the outskirts of New York is another thing that we've really sort of gotten drawn into quite a bit. And that's really more of a strategic move as well. But we're able, project management is fairly universal, and we're able to, use our network to find the right partners and people to work with in all these different locations.
Now, how do you guys stay up to date on trends on what's going on out there for these projects?
A lot of trade shows. We do events. We keep in touch with our designers and our architects, who are very much partners for us with regard to finishes, with regard to the different kinds of trends in aesthetics and architecture. The other thing is keeping up with the brokers as well, which we work really well with, and understanding that what people are actually looking for. And so they're kind of the front lines of what people actually are looking for in their home, and when they see one thing and they think of something else, and that transition between those two things is really where we come in and help. But I really, it's listening. It's just asking a lot of questions, keeping our communication open and listening.
Right on, right on. Well, how do you what advice would you give somebody starting out, starting their own business? I mean, it's a mindset thing too. You guys have gone out and created. What advice can you give somebody starting out on their own?
I don't expect extra cheese in your Whopper in the first
Uh,
week. I
ooh.
think, I think the thing about it, if you really care about it, and which we do, it's supposed to be a little hard. And if it wasn't hard, it really probably wouldn't be worth it. Hans and I had an idea. We had a bit of a mission, and with that, we were able to very much say we were just really stay focused and find the client base, find the audience, find the people that really were going to use our help. The biggest thing, and I think most startup businesses have this issue, is we need our customers to know who we are before they need us, which is quite the challenge to start a company up. And I think that's, if you're doing it right, you're probably asking yourself that question across most industries. And Hans and I really sort of, thought a lot about how, who are our clients? When do they need to know who we are? And when do they need to know to call us? And that's a really big thing. And I think any industry, any business, when you start up, you've got to sort of figure out what problem you're solving and then understand who has that problem.
Who is your guys' ideal client that's a good match with you guys and what you know?
Ideally, it's a client who has a little complexity to the project, a little size, and where we can come in and organize and really provide a process. When everybody else, when things go wrong and everyone abandons the process and runs around, we're the ones hammering process more. I think projects and people that don't necessarily understand construction, that don't necessarily understand the process, and don't even have time to run their own project. It's never really about the size of the project. It's about how much value that we can bring. And I think most projects that involve some level of complexity could handle a project overseer. There's plenty of different scopes that we can apply to these projects, but it's really where we can apply value and where we could just come in and really organize a project, de-stress our clients, let them go do the things that they do, whether it's the business or the family or anything else. Let us be the ones that don't sleep at night.
What about a failure? You gotta have, are you willing to share something? Maybe not in the biz, maybe a lot your personal life that, to start this JSM. Can you share a failure out there? Are you willing to?
Uh, yeah,
I'm
of
putting you
course. I
on the
mean, it's
spot. I'm putting you on the spot,
obviously
but
it's not the thing we put in the brochures, but
yeah.
for us, failure isn't even necessarily. A project is going to get done. There's plenty of people in a project team that will lift others up. For us, I think a failure is when the process doesn't work and everybody kind of abandons it.
Uh-huh.
We have this whole portfolio of projects that are all distressed projects where process failed. For us, I would say, the first couple of projects that we did as a company, it was, understanding how to read, our clients and the level of communication and the kind of communication and the sort of rate and the length of communication. That's probably where we've missed the mark the most in the beginning, where we sort of really honed in how we are going to communicate and how we're going to inform our clients and how we're going to educate the clients. Because we started this company and we're just kind of sitting there with a notepad and a pen in the world here saying, all right, who's ready for us? And then realize we had to go and actually get clients and explain what we do. And I think that's really for us in the beginning of anything. There's going to be challenges, and that's certainly what challenged us the most, I think.
Yeah, uh how do you maintain a work-life balance? What's your strategy on that? Or do
I
you?
mean, I
Or do
think
you not?
Hans, you definitely are the master, because I think you've got three kids, and
Yeah.
you're an amazing father and a good partner, and you probably have the secret to that.
Go ahead, Hans.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely balancing family and kids and work, and it's not easy. I mean, we don't sleep a lot. I think luckily I have a good partner that kind of pulls the weight as much as he can. But I think for us, I mean, it's just generally a good partnership. You got to
Yeah.
find somebody that you can really work well with together, and
How did
we
you
have
guys
that.
you guys grow up together, or do you guys just how did you
No,
guys, this
I went
partnership
to
come
high
together?
I went to high school with a friend, a mutual friend. So I went to high school with him, and Joe played City Lax in New York City. and he was teaching lacrosse to kids, and
Uh-huh.
they met there. So he said, I think you guys would get along and have a good partnership, and he was right.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. You guys focus, I noticed, on the big urban areas, LA, Miami,
Mhm.
um, New York. What what's the challenges there in these big cities?
Well, in New York, you have a lot of challenges. Sorry, with regulations, DOB. There's a whole lot of loopholes that you got to go through, and you have to understand them and how to get through them. And not many people know how to get through them.
Yeah.
We get a lot of business from architects and engineers, they're outside of New York City, come from Miami or come from LA, and they contact us to help them through that process with projects that they're working on. It's fairly complicated.
What what's your guys' outlook on the real estate industry next year or two? New presidency,
Yeah,
with
I
interest
think it's
rates. What's going on? What are your clients telling you guys?
well, given given that situation, it's kind of up in the air. You don't know
Yeah.
exactly. Something could change tomorrow because of the nature of who he is, but it's also put a lot of energy into the system, and I think that there's a good probability that things will start moving quicker. For the short term, I think money will open up and there'll be a lot more transactions. Long term, I'm not sure if it can sustain it, but you know, time will tell.
What's on the horizon with you guys and JSM project management? What are your goals? What's on the horizon?
I think the biggest thing for us is to continue being a firm that finds clients we can give value to. One thing we've really focused on is these three sort of portfolios of our business: developer, capital improvement, luxury residential, and distressed projects. Distressed projects has been something that has been pretty rewarding, actually, because we're able to really come in, apply process, do a lot of pre-construction, but if you put the process together and build the machine, it sort of runs itself a little bit. And so we're able to really sort of lighten our lift and lighten the burden to our clients during the course of construction. I think for us, it's a matter of not necessarily getting a ton bigger. I think it's being a bit more selective and really, really kind of going after the projects that are gonna that we're able to add the most value to, which is, whether it's just because it's, multiple buildings, or whether it's, really sort of advancing an ROI mission, or just something is incredibly, cool to do. We're able to, I think, focus a bit, grow a little bit, and really kind of use our partnerships to leverage and provide that balance. But I think that's really the growth for us in the next, year or two.
Excellent. How could listeners get a hold of you for any questions or opportunities out there?
They can go to our website, which actually will be brand new here within hours. And breaking news, by the way. We're actually going to launch. So so our website, there's plenty of places there to sort of contact us through there. Uh, but JSM Project Management, and it's Joe and Hans at JSM Project MGMT, and shoot us a line. We'll answer questions. We'll happily engage anybody in anything that we can do to help. But we do actually get a lot of emails and phone calls from people who just got to know who we are. They're not just looking to hire us; they just have a question, and we're always happy to help.
Well, what's a common question out there? What's the very first question someone always comes to you guys with? What's
Plumbing.
plumbing?
It's always plumbing, isn't it, Hans?
Generally, yeah, that's true.
What fixtures go where? How to hire a good plumber? When do you need a permit? What is the proper, what's the proper way to test, plumbing? Is my plumber doing things correctly? Are they being honest with me? Is it a good charge? I'd say these are a lot of questions we get. And again, we got so many questions. We just went ahead and bought our own plumbing company, and we've just been doing that, ourselves as well here in New York City. But I think that's probably the one we get the most. That's probably the subject we get the most.
Well, thank you, Hans and Joe, for coming on, and thank everybody for listening. Please stay tuned in for next time. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the SoCal Real Estate Development and Syndication Podcast. To stay in the loop of the next real estate opportunity, please email ppbarikoff@hotmail.com. Have a great day. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment.